This restoration program at Maungataniwha has been going hard out for 9 years, and yet there was no obvious sign that it was making a difference to Kiwi because the counts each year were more or less the same. This year is special because this year the counts have changed and the numbers are starting to go up. A Kiwi survey is just sitting in one place for a set period of time and counting the number of calls that you hear during that time. And you can recognise males from females. So we record them separately. And usually we go for 2 hours at a time, and we sample from the same sites every year to make sure we don't have area biases. And we sample for 3 consecutive nights. Because the thing about Kiwi is they don't call at the same rate every night. For whatever reason, some nights are better than others. And so we do 3 calls, 3 nights in a row to try and get a meaningful average.
This count was different, I understand. What made it so, John?
Well, the counts were up. They were up substantially. They came through at about 3.6 calls an hour for males and females together. And that might not sound a lot, but since 2015, more or less over the last 9 years, they've been hovering around about 1.5 an hour. So it's more than double. And that's quite exciting. Juvenile Kiwi, if they can find an easy place to live where they don't have to fight to gain space, they will take that. So for a long period of time, the juveniles that were being produced in Maungataniwha were moving out and settling in neighbouring areas. They took the easy option rather than try and muscle in a place that was already occupied. The fringes are starting to fill up. That easy option doesn't exist anymore. So they're starting to muscle in on where they are being released. So the change at Maungataniwha is a very genuine one. You can feel it. And it's not just the call rates. We also see a lot more Kiwi on the roads when we travel at night. There are plenty of signs that are indicating that the numbers are changing for the better.
It's an interesting comment you made that you can actually feel it. There is a vibe, is there? There's a feeling about the place.
Yeah, look, there absolutely is. I've spent plenty of nights in a forest, more than my fair share, and in Hawke's Bay, it's very rare to get more than 1 call an hour. But in Maungataniwha this year, there were several of the sites that we surveyed where we got 10 calls an hour, 20 over a 2-hour listening period or better. Now that is just unheard of. And it's not just one Kiwi calling 20 times. I mean, there's a Kiwi calling over there and then it's suddenly another one over there. There are plenty of birds on the ground now, and it's beginning to feel very different.
You've mentioned the fact that you've done these counts for many years now, and you've been getting lower numbers than you got this year. What do you get from a count that you know doesn't reflect the actual population?
What we get from a count that doesn't, well, for a start, the call count is an index. So it's not an absolute measure of number of birds on the ground. And we know that on any one night, some males don't call. So in that sense, the counts are always underrepresenting the number of birds that are out there. But what we're saying is that is a consistent bias from one year to the next. But this year, despite that bias, the counts are up. So I think they're very believable.
Maungataniwha has had a sustainable Kiwi population for a while now, for a couple of years now. Do you expect, or do you believe that these numbers reflect that? And do you anticipate that going forward, all things being equal, you'll be getting these higher counts in the future? Is that what your expectation is?
It's absolutely my expectation, because if you look at the parts of Maungataniwha that are filling up now, it's places alongside one particular river where the river is acting like something like a barrier. It's preventing leakage out that side, and that is the first side to be filling up. And I expect that wave of filling up will spread across the whole property in the next few years.
You mentioned that juvenile kiwi like to sort of take the easiest route or the path of least resistance and go and spread out and find places where they don't have to compete for shelter and food and foliage. Are they starting to spread beyond the protected area at Maungataniwha and into the former pine forest, which is being regenerated with native bush? Are you seeing any of that? And if so, how well are these birds taking to this environment?
Well, the answer is yes, they are spilling out into the neighbouring logged pine forest, and they're even going beyond that. There's a place probably 10 kilometres from Maungataniwha, which suddenly have kiwi back in there. And I'm almost certain those birds are Maungataniwha origin. So that's how far they're going. And to answer your question about can they make good use of logged pine forest, and the answer is yes. It's a very good habitat. And so it's no surprise that some of them are settling in those areas.
John, listen, thank you very, very much indeed for your time today. Was there anything else that you felt would be useful to throw into the discussion at this point?
No, Peter, but we're trying to do better out of call rates. So we've got this. We've been dicking around for some time with getting call rates from transmitted and untransmitted birds. And you might have read one of my reports earlier, and it was a bit technical and a bit unreadable. But there is potentially a technique where we can use call rates to get an absolute population estimate, simply based on whether a call is made by a transmitted bird or a non-transmitted bird. You can use that ratio to work out how many are there. And next time round, we're going to have another go at that and try and get an absolute count of the number of kiwi in the forest. So
That's interesting.
we might talk again after that.
So the science behind audio counting or call counting is evolving.
It's evolving, and Maungataniwha offers a nice opportunity to test that idea because it would only ever work where a high proportion of birds are transmitted in a forest. If you've only got a sprinkling like most people have, the technique would never work. But where you've got a reasonable proportion, like maybe a third of the total males are tagged, then you can actually use this technique to get an absolute population estimate. Yeah, so the science is working. We're working on the science, but its applicability may be limited because there may be not that many sites with that many transmitted birds.